Good afternoon, traders. This is a live trade recap. I took 0 trades this morning at the market open. Nothing met my chart criteria to take a trade. I'll show you exactly what I mean by that in just a moment. When that happens, there's nothing for me to do. I just sit back and wait for an entry to get triggered. If it doesn't, I don't do anything. So it may look like I'm red on the day here. That's all because of my swing trade with SPXL. It's pulling back today, and I am green on that trade, but obviously for today it's pulling back. So I can just show you that here, August 16th, and the trades, there's no trades for today. This is all SPXL, my swing trade. I can also show you in my filled orders. So let's go to filled, stretch this out so you can see the dates. My last orders were placed on August 6th, so I have not taken any day trades since then. So let's take a look first at the screener. I like to show you how I pick my stocks in the morning. So go over to my screeners, mid-ish cap stocks, that's my mid-cap stock filters. Click those 3 little dots so the filters are applied, and then I organize the list by volume. And I'm only looking at stocks that are above 500,000 shares in volume, which right at 9:30 a.m. there's usually not that many. Right now it's much later, so the volume is just kind of piling up throughout the day. Then I look for percent change. They must be obviously green in the positive and above 2%. Then if all of that criteria is met, then there's the chart criteria, which you can see in this video. The chart criteria is that they must be trading above the 200 MA on the daily chart. So here's SONO. Here, this red line is the 200 MA on the daily chart. That signifies a upward trend if the stock is trading above it, a long-term upward trend. And I like to trade with the trend, makes sense. And so SONO met that requirement on the daily chart. But then there's some other chart criteria that must be met on the lower time frames, and I'll show you that. But let's look at an example. This is something that popped up on my screener. TLRY met my screener criteria but does not meet my chart criteria. We're looking at the daily chart again, and you can see here's the 200 MA line, and the price is trading below it. So no matter what it does throughout the day, I cannot be looking for a trade on TLRY because it does not meet my plan criteria. All right, so let's fast forward here. Yeah, so what I meant by what must be met on the lower time frame is that the price must get above the previous high of the pre-market or previous day, and that's not happening on SONO. This yellow line is marking that level out. So once that price has crossed that level, then I could look for an entry, but until then I can't do anything. So some other stocks that popped up on the screener, but they're also below the 200 MA on the daily chart. So there's nothing for me to trade there. So at one point it looked like SONO was going to kind of curl back up and break out through that previous day high, but it didn't. Not that surprising when you consider what's happening in the overall market. Here is the SPY, which is S&P 500 ETF. So you can see that it's selling off. The S&P 500 is selling off. The NASDAQ selling off. And this is just my swing trade with SPXL. But the Dow Jones was also selling off. Kind of similar, really more similar to SONO than even the SPY. So this is me just watching. There was nothing else popped up on my screener for me to check. And SONO never came back up through that previous high, so there was no trade for me to take. So here's the Dow. I did pull that up at one point just to see what that was doing. And this is what I meant by it looked a little bit more like SONO, because you could see this kind of cup formation and almost the exact same thing on SONO, and then a sell-off. Same thing over here. And on the S&P, or on the SPY specifically, there was a sell-off, and then the recovery never got quite to that same level. So that's what I'm talking about there. Now, the one point I want to make is that you should not take trades on individual stocks based on what these indices are doing. These indices move because of what's happening on the individual stocks. So it would kind of be like putting the cart before the horse, so to speak, if you looked for signals based on what the indices are doing. So I just have them up because it's nice to see what the overall market is doing, and if nothing is popping up on my screener or nothing looks strong, it just gives you a little bit of a reason why the two don't have to coincide, but they often do. So what's really going on in the individual stock rules whether or not I take a trade. So that's pretty much it for the rest of the video. It's just the video plays out until 10:30, and that's when I stop trading. And I'll show you my plan. Once again, the criteria that was not met here was the price needs to be above the pre-market and the previous day high, and that did not happen today on SONO or any other stock that met my screener criteria. And so this is really what took place today, was that it's always possible there will be no trades to take, and that's a very important point to make. Yes, if you look far enough through a screener or change your screener criteria, can you find something that might meet your chart criteria? Yes, but you're already breaking your plan because your plan says that the stock must meet a specific screener criteria. At least mine does. Maybe yours says you can look for whatever you want as long as you see a pattern, you take a trade. That's not for me. I used to trade like that when I was a younger trader, but now I just stick to my plan and follow the rules. And if things are not met to 100% of my criteria, I don't take a trade today. Nothing was lost. No money was lost today. So it's a good thing. And that's it. As always, go into every single trade with a plan and stick to that plan no matter what. Don't listen to what anyone else tells you. It doesn't matter if they're amateur trader like you are, or if there's some big time YouTube trader or whatever. Just stick to your plan. At least that way you know you did what's right in your plan and in your interest. And then if you do take a trade, always take your stop losses, honor your profit target, and in the long run, you should be green. Take care.